Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 22nd day of June 2020. Well, this is just an exciting numerology today. I'm going to put away my hawthorn runes. I got my husband to slice up some a rowan branch I had, and it's been drying. Oops. Well, there goes some runes on the floor because I'm dropping them all. That's not good, but I guess it would help if I would actually close the bag before turning it upside down. Anyway, I had him slice those up for me, and I did them, and so I'm going to use them today in the reading, and they turned out really well. I was really, I didn't like with the hawthorn runes, I didn't take off any of the bark, and so you can kind of see how cool the bark is. It's kind of ribby. It's kind of interesting, but that's the non-rune side. It has a little dot in the center. It has a little core, and it's on all of them. And so there's Ansu's. But that's how they turned out. I'm really happy with them, and so I'm going to use them going forward here. Rowan is a sacred druid tree. Hawthorn is a sacred witch and fairy tree. So I figure, my hawthorn runes and my hawthorn wands and my rowan. I have a small rowan wand. I had on this branch that I cut off. It was dying, and so I took it. And I didn't want. It's a small tree, so I didn't want to take anything else. And so I only had what I had to do the wand, but I was able to get one about yay long, and it has kind of a little bend on the end for where I can hold it. And it turned out really well, and I'm very pleased with it. So I left it very plain. I didn't put any I cut sigils on them. I did runes and other sigils, a goddess sigil and all of that. But other than that, I didn't do anything. I just left it alone, and I didn't affix any crystals to it or anything else. So I just left it plain. I just thought it had more power that way. But I like to have stuff like that. I like to make my own runes. I do have some that are made from stone, and I did buy those, so I do have them, but I just prefer if they're going to be made from a branch, then I want to be the one to do that. I think it has more power that way. So anyway, so I just want to talk about, I did the esoteric influences. You can go check those out. Again, they're from the esoteric influences for the week up on the blog over at imsteppingaside.com. I do want to tell you, though, about the numerology, though. We do have a 6-month. That's higher self energies and shared abundance and shared purpose and shared. The beginnings of unity with others. But the 22 for the day and the 22 for the year, that's the cosmic builder. And it's a number where it's about soul level manifestation. And so the changes the things we're experiencing, number one, right now, and the subsequent changes that will happen are going to be quite profound. And I think that we can all pretty much be assured of that, whatever's going to happen here. I think that we're seeing a shift beginning away from this oppressive, not questioning anything. And I realize a lot of us would never live that way anyway, but some of us do. We just accept what the government says is gospel, and and even if we know in our hearts it's nonsense, we think, well, what can we do about it, right? Well, in a 22 year, you can do a lot. You can, especially if it comes from the soul versus the ego, because so much of this has been driven by patriarchy, and what's that? That's just overblown ego. All right, it's a lack of polarity that's balanced. It's clearly imbalanced because you have the masculine side of self running amok and the feminine side of self standing there going, "Whoa, time out!" And now you have this push, with the goddess returning, that energy returning. The balance has, in other words, as water will seek its level, so will our energy. And maybe it's taken thousands of years, but it's happening. So, help it along. On this 6th day, or this 6th month, and this 22 day, and this 22 year, it's almost like a higher self portal has opened. And you can access those energies, those higher frequencies of perception. Let it Let it guide where you're going instead of allowing ego to derail you every second of the day. You know. So anyway, let's go ahead and take our first 3 cards. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you so much for coming by. I do lose my voice from time to time, so I have my tea at the ready here, just in case. And I think I've shuffled enough. I'm going to take the first 3 cards. I'm going to do them one at a time. I'm going to take the 13th one each time for randomness sake, and we'll talk about them. And then if we need more, if there's something that maybe we need a little more information on, we'll take another card, maybe 2, usually no more than that. And then we'll go on to the brand new runes, and then we'll close out with the geomancy runes. So let's go ahead and see what our first 3 cards are. And if you've come back, thank you. I appreciate you all so much. And please click subscribe. I'd love you to do that. It's the 9 of Cups. You have a very happy fellow there. He's feeling quite emotionally secure today. Just because he's got his arms folded doesn't mean that's a defensive position, other than, you know, because he's man-spreading there. So, you know, he must not be too worried. I'm a martial artist. To me, that's a target. So I don't know. If I saw some guy doing that, if I was sitting on a bus with some guy, and I'm thinking, I'm looking for my targets, right? And just in case, right? Because you don't know, somebody could do something. You want to be ready, right? Well, you do that. I'm looking. I know what my first one's going to be. So. Guys are silly sometimes, aren't they? It's like, hit me. I'll draw you a map. Well, we have the World. 21st card of the Major Arcana, the last one. 3 energy. Mind, body, spirit, balance, triplicities, all of that. But we come full circle, don't we? We've learned all the lessons we need to learn, and it's time either to pass on to a new life, or it's at least time to pass on to some new experiences. If it's not the end of your life in form in this particular incarnation, then maybe it's time to move on to something new, right? It could just be that. So we'll take a look at it. See what this last card is. Well, we have the 7 of Wands. An interesting situation unfolding there. Wands is the fire element. The 7 is about letting things come to rest and being able to see what's really going on. Think the scales when you think the 7. Let me see if I can find, oh, here's one here. I'll show you, this is what I always show everybody whenever I talk about the 7. So bear with me if you've already seen this. I love numerology. I love the movement of it. Believe it or not, there's movement with it. I love the energy of it. I mean, it's not just what each number suggests. It's just the whole idea of it, that the universe is basically math. It's basically geometry, sacred geometry. But if you're looking at a scale, basically you're looking at this, and you've got 1, 2, 3. You've got the 4th position up top, 5, 6, 7. So that's what I mean. Empaths know this quite well when we step outside the fray and we observe, and so that we don't absorb the energies that we're experiencing. And basically, that's a 7 experience to do that. You're stepping back, you're letting energy settle, you're figuring out which is yours, which is theirs, and you're basically just trying to find some clarity, and I guarantee you that's what he's trying to do there, trying to figure out what on earth is coming in on him and what he has to defend against now. Fire is about the will, it's the creativity, it's the spark of life, but at the same time, you know, it could be a battle of wills that he's dealing with. Now, let's go ahead and keep the World in the center as kind of the significator around which all this is going to transpire. What I think, though, We can either look at this as these are the two things that we're having to contend with right now, trying to balance emotional fulfillment with keeping will in check, maybe. Let me think about what I had for today, see if there's anything. I mean, taking the bull by the horns just came into my head about this and the 22. What are we going to manifest? Are we going to manifest emotional fulfillment, or are we going to manifest, or are we going to be constantly dealing with and contending with will coming at us? And it's either our own or it's someone else's, or a group of someone else's. It might be a good idea right now to check over your bills. We're coming into the new month, and you want to make sure that nothing was overlooked. I found one of my own that was weird, and I had to call on it, and we got it adjusted because it just made no sense. And then I made some other decisions as well. But the point is that make sure that everyone is on the same page with you and especially with bills right now, because if you've not done something or something's been charged to you that shouldn't have been, take care of it sooner than later, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Sometimes if you wait, a window goes for doing so. So don't wait. If you see something that's amiss, take care of it right away. Let's see. I don't see anything other than the moon's in Cancer. Other than maybe this could be miscommunication or born of miscommunication, maybe. And you feel like you're battling something today. But here, I mean, it's possible we could put that first, though, couldn't we? I guess it doesn't really matter, though, because when you talk about the world, you're talking about things coming full circle. All elements are being represented, not by their typical representations, but by their hermetic ones. You see the lemniscates both above and below, right here, the figure 8. The goddess is in the center. She's holding 2 scrolls. So she's basically, to me, that suggests she's learned the lessons of spirit while in form. The whole idea here is we get caught up in the ego. We get caught up in the form of it all. And that translates into ego or personality. When in truth, the only reason why we exist is because there's a soul within this whole experience. It's infused into the body, basically, likely through the DNA structure. And so if there was no soul, there would be no reason to have a body. So basically, this is just a vehicle. But we get confused and we forget, and maybe that's by design, so that we can actually learn some things here, and we're not distracted by soul going, hey, no, don't look at it that way. Because maybe the lesson is found in indeed looking at it in a way that's ego, that's produced from ego. And so you learn then the fallacy of it, you learn the truth of it by recognizing spirit. So maybe for most people, it was intended to be a process of awakening and realization as to who you are. But it's not doing good works so that you work your way back to God. That's not what that is. So that's a misperception brought on by people in power, by clergy likely, trying to keep that same, separation between the creator and the so-called created, when all we are aspects of the created, or the creator rather, focused into form, trying to figure all this out, right? We come in with whatever overall theme, and maybe that's our theme for our whole experience in form. I don't know. It may change each time. I mean, basically, the nuts and bolts of it change each time, if that's the case. One lifetime, you might be an oppressor, someone who oppresses other people. You might be a mass murderer. You could be, a dictator. And then you come in again or into another form, and maybe you experience what it's like to be a victim. So you learn the whole idea behind that one concept, right? The totality of it. So that's really, when you're talking about this, we can either talk about it in terms of the entire lifetime or groupings of moments within our existing lifetimes where we come full circle and we begin again. Sometimes it could be you struggle with something, maybe with getting along with a particular individual, and then over the course of time it all gets worked out, right? And you can begin again now, and it's a different relationship. You can look at it that way. Sometimes it's a career focus. You spend a whole bunch of time doing one thing, but when you're finished, and now you're bored and you want to go do something else. And so the concept of spending 30 years at a job and getting the gold watch just doesn't happen now, right? Oh, well, it does, but typically we move about. And maybe we reinvent ourselves. We retire, maybe we did the 30-year job, and then we retire, and then we reinvent ourselves. We do something entirely different. So you can see this whole world experience play out in a variety of ways. It isn't just from birth to death. It could be, little progress things along the way where you're have little groups of things to experience instead of one big long experience, right? But now she's learned everything, and so she's holding the scrolls in both hands. Instead of one pointed to spirit, the scroll pointed to spirit, and the other hand pointed to the earth. Indicative of receiving, information from spirit to then, as above, so below, right? To then to then send into your physical form and inform how you're going to live your life. Well, we don't do that, and unless you're aware when you come in and you don't lose it, then but because there are people like that, right? That just seem to know, right? They seem to get it. They seem to understand who they are as spirit. They're quiet about it. They're unassuming, but that there's something different about that person. They're just special somehow. And I think those are the people that really come in. Maybe they're the avatar energies that come in, that know they're going to have a profound impact, but they're very humble about it. They don't even let on. They just live, and people notice. It's that profound, right? But here with the 7, we have all of this will coming in, and either it's coming in from outside sources or it's coming in, it's your own that you're having to contend with. Maybe it's the internal struggle over whether or not you're going to wear a mask, right? To protect yourself and other people. Maybe maybe you're the one that doesn't want to and everybody else wants you to, and you're the guy holding the staff. Or maybe you're the one wanting to wear the mask and you got all these other people that don't want you to and want to get mad at you for doing it. I mean, who'd have ever thought, who'd have thunk it, right? That we'd ever be in this position, that we'd ever have this conversation and this horrible experience of people getting so angry, seeing someone wearing a mask, that they'll literally come up and cough on them. I guess they think they're trying to make a point. What they're doing is committing a crime, and if the police find them, they'll arrest them. Because, it's a crime. You can't do that. I saw one person got arrested. It was a felony, I think. Yeah. Don't do stuff like that. But here, with the 9, nine's about completion. It's about endings. And cups is our emotions. And when they're all up there being displayed, and he's so happy, right? So instead of crossing his arms in defense, it's like, well, here I am. I'm happy. I'm just happy. See, that's all he's doing. So there's no defense there. It's almost like, see what I did? I got it all in order. I know what I need to do now. I know how I need to see things. I know how I need to feel about things. And it's all in alignment now. It's all good. I can move on, knowing that I'm emotionally secure. I'm settled, unlike this guy. But it's all about cycles. Today's a Monday, the moon day. It's all about cycles, the ebb and flow of things. Sometimes we're going to be at odds with others, maybe with the self, and other times we're going to be fulfilled. And within that, the world turns, doesn't it? Do we want to take one more? Let's do it. Let's just throw caution to the wind and take one more card. See if we can find out what the struggle was. But I think that once we resolve the issue of will, I think that emotions will settle. So I think that when you're talking about the world and about coming full circle and about learning the lessons of life and all of the things, the success of the world, that it's also about success. Let's see if there's any more to it. Completion, synthesis, reward. I think with the 7, we're still struggling to try to figure it out, and trying to figure out how do we keep will in alignment with spirit. Because if we don't, then the ego runs amok, right? And then we're always in this battle. And that's what I see with the 7. You've got a battle going on. You need to figure out and let it settle out. Let it resolve. Find a way to bring balance to the situation. Now in the 9, he appears to have done that. And is it just a function of the cycles that we all experience, or was it by virtue of will? Did he get the will in balance and then he found his emotional fulfillment? I mean, realistically, we could put the 7 first before the 9 and actually see with the world in the center, you see it resolve and then you come to emotional fulfillment. We probably don't need another card, but let's take it anyway. See 9 and see 3 is 12. Well, we have another 9, and it's the 9 of Pentacles. Yeah, I think getting the will in order is the way to security, emotional security. We see will, it's not only emotional security, but material security as well. I love this card. Again, endings, completion. The queen is in her garden. She's probably going to have a hunt with her falcon there. She's taking stock of everything she has. She's got her abundance around her. She's calm. She's serene. You see the castle off in the distance there. She's just taking a day. It's probably like a Sunday where she's just out and she's enjoying the day, and everything is in its own place. You see the grapes behind her, the abundance, and all of her pentacles around her. I think it aligns with the 9 of Cups, that after we struggle, there can be peace, there can be harmony. Maybe it's a cycle we need to go through, but it's kind of sad, isn't it, that we do. But when we talk about the battle of wills, we talk about it, we can talk about it in a variety of ways, really. I mean, it can just be about the struggle within, or it can be a struggle with one other person or a small group of people. But I think that what I feel about the 7 of Wands in this reading, especially with the world being present in it, I think that we're talking about society. We struggle in this country over what rights do we have to one thing or another? What right do we have to health care? What right do we have to be safe? What right do we have to expect the police not to beat people of color or to kill people of color? What right do we have to expect all of these things? Well, that's the battle, isn't it? Because you've got the government on the one hand, depending on who's in there, who maybe isn't going to be so benevolent to the people and doesn't really care about the rights of the people. They care about taking on power and keeping power, and that's all they really care about. It's about money to them, really, and who controls what. It's not about an egalitarian type of existence with people. And so maybe the struggle is that we do deserve health care. With the COVID virus, we don't know what's going to happen with people. I saw online that one person's niece, she's young, she's under 18, and she may need a heart transplant after all this. In fact, it's looking like she's going to. You know, how does this happen? If suddenly, you know, now the insurance company cancels you and says, oh no, we're not going to cover it. How does this family survive this? Well, we thought that we had found at least a beginning point with the Affordable Care Act to finding our way out of this, toward a public option, toward, you know, the type of universal health care that other countries have and that we could have. But again, it's how much will do we want to deal with in order to have it happen, right? And depending on how the votes go in Congress and whether or not a president's going to sign something. Well, you know, we had people filing medical bankruptcies all the time in this country because they couldn't pay what they were ill, and then they go and their insurance company cancels them, or they get fired and they have to leave their job, or their job ends, or whatever, and now they've got to go get another job, and so now there's pre-existing conditions and it won't cover anything, and their child's not covered. So we dealt with that. This is what we dealt with. It was the Seven of Wands. A battle of wills, trying to say, no, this is not the kind of a world we want to live in, right? And now you're looking at not only issues with that and the coronavirus, but you're also looking now, which is shameful that we haven't dealt with this, but until now, but I think we're dealing with it now, and it's policing and how that works in this country. Because clearly it's not working. So things are going to have to change, right? Here's the rune for today. Gebo, the 7th rune of the Elder Futhark. Balanced energy exchange with others. We also see Kenaz in all directions. I'll draw that for you, which is the light of spirit. Here's Gebo. So it's an outward expression of spirit. It's also Isa crossed. But again, it's an expression from the soul, not from the ego. Ego doesn't want to do that. Ego doesn't want to come into balanced energy exchange with anybody. Ego just wants to be in charge and be in control. And so that isn't what we need right now, though, in order to achieve these two things, that type of security, feeling of security, both emotional and material. Then we have to come full circle on this whole battle of wills nonsense and understand that in this 22 year, on this 22 day, we can accomplish anything. We can manifest anything we want. We just have to want the shared direction. If we want to manifest something else, we can do that. We can continue doing. Okay, where did my magnifying glass go? Did my husband take my magnifying glass? Yes. Well, okay. So I'll have to do this underneath the lamp here so I can figure out what this is. There's 2 dots on one side and 1 dot on the other, and I have to figure out what order they go in, because they go in air, fire, water, and earth. Oh, well, it's easy. It's populous. Okay, so yeah, shared path forward. You know, it's amazing when this stuff just aligns. I said, you know, it's a 6-month, it's a 22 day, it's a 22 year, so we need to be paying attention to synchronicities. There are 8 geomancy runes. With their opposite or complement, there are actually 16. This is populous. Represents the group. alignment with others. Its opposite is via, or the path that you take alone. But see, together, we're aligning with others here today, trying to get our will in order so that we can figure out, and so that we're not battling everybody, you know. Wear a mask. It's so simple. Wear a bandana, do something, make a statement, be the spiritual warrior that says to other people, by virtue of wearing one, that I care about not getting you sick if I have this and I don't know it. And I'm glad that you're wearing one because it tells me that you care about the same. Had we done that right away, we would have been beyond this and we could have had a better summer, likely. We don't know though, maybe not, but likely. But if we're not willing to do that, then we're going to be dealing with this for a long, long time until they come up with therapeutics and a vaccine. So I don't know. I don't know what this is. They think they know what it is. Maybe that's what we're all. Maybe that's the truth. Maybe it's more complex. Maybe it's more contagious than we know. Maybe it mutates more easily. Who knows? We don't know yet, and that's the point. For all that they do know, things change. As they mutate, they change. But every time they watch that happen, you see, they're able to say, okay, what's consistent about this with everything else and what's different? So in other words, what they've learned, they can apply to it. And so I think going forward, a better momentum will be created, but who knows? You know, in many respects, with climate change being what it is, unearthing different things from the permafrost, who knows what we're going to be dealing with in the future. But we need to be at least on the same page of how we do that if a virus breaks out and a pandemic happens. Because in the beginning, the only thing we can do are the structural issues. We don't have any medicines. And so if what we have to do is to stand 6 feet apart or better, if what we have to do is wear surgical gloves or other gloves and a mask, if we've got to wash our hands a lot, if we've got to use hand sanitizer, isn't it worth it? I would think so, but for some reason, there are still people who are struggling with this, and I don't get that. But in any event, I guess that's it. Find a way to deal with the struggle within, you know. I just suspect that, because it's spilling out between all of us. You know, the police that want to beat protesters, stop it. They're going after journalists. I saw another thing. Another journalist had pepper balls lobbed at them. They know they're the press. They can't do this. Again, things are coming apart, and maybe they need to, so that we can get things back under control again, and back into a better order, and back on a better path. So, but it's not a cycle that's just going to resolve itself. It's going to take effort on our part. This guy knows it. He really does. So he's standing his ground, standing on principle. Just make sure it's the right one. Make sure it's the one that helps us all move forward into a better future, instead of one that leaves us living in fear over whether or not we're going to get sick or attacked by a police officer. See, we need a different way. And I think that the momentum is there now for that. Populist certainly tells us that it is. That's alignment with others. So let's make that happen. Anyway, thanks so much for coming by. I do appreciate it. Check out the esoteric influences. They'll be up here before this one will. I'll look at it first, and then if it's okay, then I'll go ahead and publish it. And again, it'll be over on the left side panel. Well, there's only one side panel, so it's over there on the side panel. Both of them will be on top of one another. So first the esoteric influences, then somewhat daily tarot and rune. So look for all that. If you don't watch it over here, you can click on it there. And then it takes you here anyway. So anyway, thanks so much for coming by. Click subscribe, check out the blog. And I did a bind rune over on Medium. You can go check that out. A bind rune for Mercury retrograde, I believe I called it. So you can go check that out too if you want to. And I guess that's it. So have a wonderful day. Be good to yourself. Be good to one another. And blessed be.